Remember playing pretend as a kid? Those were the days when imagination knew no bounds. You could transform a simple cardboard box into a majestic castle or a cozy little home. You'd grab a stick, yell magic wand, and suddenly you were a wizard, a superhero, or even a homeowner. The world was your oyster, and everything seemed possible with just a bit of creativity. Sadly, adulting doesn't work that way. Bills, mortgages, and financial responsibilities replace the magic wands and cardboard castles. The dream of owning a home becomes a complex puzzle, often filled with stress and uncertainty. Today, buying a house feels more like entering the Hunger Games. The competition is fierce and the stakes are incredibly high. It's not just about finding a place to live, it's about surviving in a market that's become a battleground. Instead of battling mutated wolves, you're wrestling other desperate buyers for a crumb of concrete in a market that's gone bonkers. The frenzy is palpable and the pressure is immense. Seriously, have you seen house prices lately? It's like they've taken on a life of their own, spiraling out of control and leaving many potential buyers in the dust. The dream of homeownership seems to be slipping further away for many. It's like everyone suddenly decided they wanted to live in a mansion made of gold-plated bricks. The luxury market is booming, but what about the average person just looking for a modest home? And don't even get me started on those charming fixer-uppers that cost more than a small island. The idea of buying a starter home has become a distant memory for many. Something's clearly out of whack. What's going on here? Why has the housing market become such a chaotic and unattainable dream for so many? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a tangled web of factors, each contributing to the madness in its own way. From economic policies to supply and demand, the situation is far more complex than it appears. It's a perfect storm of economic factors that have conspired to make housing less affordable than a unicorn riding a rocket ship to a diamond-encrusted moon. Interest rates, inflation, and a myriad of other elements have all played a part in this housing crisis. Buckle up, folks, because we're diving headfirst into the wild world of why nobody can afford a house anymore. We'll explore the twists and turns of this roller coaster ride, uncovering the hidden forces at play and seeking to understand how we got here. Stay tuned as we unravel the complexities of the housing market, and maybe, just maybe, find a glimmer of hope in this seemingly impossible quest for homeownership. Remember when you were a kid and thought, when I grow up, I'm gonna buy a house just like this one? Back then, a house was a symbol of stability, a place to put down roots. It was the American dream, a tangible goal that seemed within reach for most families. Now, it's a symbol of how did they do that? The dream has turned into a daunting challenge. The problem is simple: house prices have skyrocketed, while wages have crawled along like a snail in a molasses factory. The gap between income and housing costs has widened to an almost unbridgeable chasm. It's like trying to outrun a cheetah on a treadmill. You're just not gonna win. The faster you run, the more you realize you're stuck in place. Think about it. In 1960, the average American family could buy a house with about 2 years of income. It was a time when one breadwinner could support a family, buy a home, and even save for the future. Today, try closer to years. And that's if you're lucky. For many, it's more like 5, 6, or even 10 years of income. That's like working for an entire decade just to afford a down payment, if you even manage to save that much with those pesky things called bills. Rent, utilities, groceries, healthcare, they all eat away at your savings. So, while our parents might have bought homes on salaries from jobs like switchboard operator or milkman, jobs that were considered stable and sufficient, those gigs wouldn't even cover the monthly mortgage interest today. The economic landscape has shifted dramatically. We're stuck in a wage maze with no cheese at the end, navigating a labyrinth of financial obstacles with no clear exit in sight. Just a mountain of debt, and the faint hope of maybe, someday, owning a place to call our own. The dream of homeownership has become a distant mirage for many, a goal that seems to move further away the closer you get. And it's not just about houses. The cost of living has surged across the board. Young professionals are working longer hours, often juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. Add to that the burden of student loans, and it's no wonder that financial stress is at an all-time high. Graduates are stepping into the workforce already weighed down by debt. The call for higher wages and fair pay is growing louder. People are demanding a change, a chance to catch up with the rising costs and reclaim the dream of financial stability. Communities are coming together, finding creative solutions to cope with the economic pressures. From community gardens to shared housing, people are finding ways to support each other. Despite the challenges, the hope for a better future remains. The dream of owning a home, of having a place to call your own, still burns brightly in the hearts of many. It's a tough journey, but with determination and a collective effort, there's a glimmer of hope that we can navigate this wage maze and find our way to a brighter, more secure future. Let's get Econ 101 for a second. Remember supply and demand? It's the basic principle that dictates how prices are set in a market. When the supply of something is low and the demand is high, prices naturally go up. Conversely, when there's a surplus of something and not enough people want it, prices drop. It's a balancing act that keeps our economy ticking. Basically, when something's scarce and everyone wants it, the price goes up. This is true for everything from everyday groceries to luxury items. Imagine you're at a marketplace and there's only one loaf of bread left. If 10 people want that loaf, the seller can charge a premium because the demand far exceeds the supply. Think about it like trying to buy a rare Pokemon card at recess. Everyone wants it. So the kid who owns it can charge a king's ransom. This isn't just about Pokemon cards though. It's a microcosm of how our entire economy functions. The rarer and more desirable something is, the more people are willing to pay for it. That's kind of what's happening with housing. The demand for homes has skyrocketed, but the supply hasn't kept up. More people are looking to buy homes, but there simply aren't enough available. This imbalance is driving prices through the roof. We don't have enough houses and everyone wants one. Open houses are packed and bidding wars have become the norm. It's a seller's market and buyers are often left scrambling, willing to pay more than the asking price just to secure a home. It's basic economics but with potentially disastrous consequences for anyone who wants to own a home. The dream of homeownership is slipping out of reach for many as prices continue to soar. This isn't just a financial issue, it's a social one, affecting families and communities. Why the shortage? Well, it's complicated. There are multiple factors at play here. One major issue is the cost of building materials. Prices for essential materials like lumber and steel have surged, making construction more expensive and less feasible for many builders. Building materials cost more than a trip to space these days. Lumber prices alone went bonkers during the pandemic. And good luck finding enough skilled labor to actually build the darn things. The pandemic disrupted supply chains, leading to shortages and price hikes that are still being felt today. The construction industry is facing a labor shortage with not enough workers to meet the demand for new homes. This further slows down the building process and exacerbates the supply issue. Adding to the chaos, zoning laws. These regulations determine what can be built and where, and they can be incredibly restrictive. In many areas, zoning laws limit the types of housing that can be constructed, making it difficult to build the high-density housing that's needed to meet demand. These are like the picky eaters of the construction world, limiting what can be built and where. Even if there's land available, zoning laws can prevent developers from building the types of homes that are most needed. This adds another layer of complexity to an already challenging situation. So even if we build more houses, these rules often get in the way. It's a frustrating paradox. We need more homes, but the regulations designed to manage growth and development are sometimes the very things that prevent it. The result? We're stuck with a housing market that's about as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane. Prices keep climbing, and the dream of owning a home becomes more elusive for many. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions, but understanding the factors at play is the first step toward finding a way forward. Prices keep climbing, and the dream of owning a home becomes more elusive for many. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions, but understanding the factors at play is the first step toward finding a way forward. Remember those low interest rates everyone was so excited about a few years ago? Well, turns out they weren't all sunshine and rainbows. Sure, they made borrowing money cheaper, but they also poured gasoline on the already raging fire of the housing market. Think about it, when mortgages are cheap, people are more likely to buy houses. And when more people are buying houses, you guessed it, prices go up. It's economics 101 again. But this time with a twist of financial engineering. But here's the kicker. Those low rates also attracted a new breed of homebuyer, investors. These folks saw a chance to make some serious cash, scooping up properties left and right and turning them into rentals. This further squeezed the already limited supply, making it even harder for regular folks to get their hands on a place of their own. What do you think is the biggest barrier to homeownership today? Let us know in the comments below. If this video was helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who's ready to start building wealth.